What's up, girls? You already had treats today. You want some more? They've gotten to where they think every time I come here, they're supposed to get some mealworms. This one here has gotten so tame that I have to like gently move her with my foot so I don't walk on her. Huh? Again, they're doing some work, making some compost. Anyway, this is really not a chicken video. I did some modifications yesterday in here I wanted to show you about. For those that are seeing this video for the first time, you can look up my Aquaponics and Aquatics playlist to kind of get the whole system down. But basically, in that greenhouse there's two 330-gallon IBCs with a solids filter and a line that pumps water, a delivery line here. And that runs all these ebb and flow beds and all these wicking beds. And I decided to get back into raft growing. So I've had these deep water beds and we've got some fish in them. Actually, in this bed here, I've got a bunch of goldfish and koi that are in here as a grow out tank, and we're growing them out because we're going to be doing a major aquatic system right there. And we've learned over the years that if you put goldfish or koi when they're little in with bluegills, which is what are in this tank, you probably can't see them, but there's a bunch of them in there, the bluegills will just devastate them. Once your koi are up to about like that, your goldfish are up to about like that, they get pretty armor plated and they can take care of themselves. But when they're young like this, so these are all little 14-cent feeder goldfish, and they actually grow into some beautiful fantails over time, and a lot of them will atrophy out, but they're in there. So anyway, we got the fish. We've been running deep water tanks, ebb and flow beds over the deep water tanks. So instead of the water coming into the tank itself, comes in the ebb and flow bed, drops down, and you know, a number of wicking beds, and then 2 more ebb and flow beds at the end. These were the 2 that I installed later in the system's development. These are actually 21-gallon concrete trays. And as you can see, they've done really well. They haven't deformed that much. They've bulged here a little bit. And but they haven't started leaking over the sides. I haven't had any real problems with them. I have, I guess, leveling shims in here, but I haven't had to shim them to deal with them going cattywampus or anything on me. Yet the ones down there that are the 14-gallon ones, we've had all kinds of problems with. And I realized it's just the way we've done these. If you look, and it's just a kind of obvious engineering 101 here, we have 3 2x4s supporting them long ways. So even though they're bulging some, and we have a solution for that my buddy Jeff came up with that I think is going to work really, really great, that we'll implement next. But just by, you know, having them this way instead of this way, we've got kind of just a much better result. And my buddy David and I have been lamenting this because there is no better bang for the buck than these things right here. These sell at Home Depot and Lowe's for like $12. And I can never find these 21-gallon ones at Home Depot, but they're like the same price as the 14-gallon ones. If you order them online, you can just pick them up, and then you don't have to dig through all their crap trying to find them. It always says they're in inventory whenever I go down there just to pick them up on a whim. They're never there, but if I order them and you pick them up at customer service, no problem. So I'm going to all the 21-gallon ones from now on with the modification of wherever they go, they will be supported long ways, which makes perfect freaking sense when you think about it. And the other modification we're going to do is we're going to drill a hole right there, and on the other side we're going to put a piece of all thread with some fender washers across the center and make a center brace that pulls that together. And once we do that, we should be golden. We shouldn't have any more problems with deformities on them at all. Jeff's the one that came up with the all thread, and David and I looked at each other like, gee, that's pretty obvious. But you might ask, well, why did you ever put them the other way? Well, I wanted to create shade for the fish and try to keep the quail from drowning themselves, because every once in a while the quail will get their wings back and you'll find one floating around here dying. Well, it didn't work to keep the quail out. I decided just to go back to rafts and then go ahead and turn them all this way and go ahead and put rafts. So I built rafts, and this is just out of foam insulation board, 3/4 inch. Easy peasy. Draw an outline and cut them and, you know, make half rafts. I've got this one marked out. You can see where I'm going to have all my 3-inch net cups. You can see I drilled one hole here. My biggest hole saw cutter is a 2.5 inch. It's a 3-inch net pot, but of course we don't want a 3-inch hole then. Probably a 2 3/4 inch hole will work. I'll figure out exactly what I need and get one ordered on Amazon. But not want to let anything go to waste, and you'll see that I've kind of stripped the ebb and flow beds, especially down there, coming out of summer crops going into winter. I want to get them replanted right away with watercress. So little bits of watercress, you can see some of it coming down there growing everywhere. So I went out and I made, gee, I guess there's like 24 cuttings or 20 cuttings here. And all I did for these is just take a standard, you know, 1/4-inch drill bit and pop a hole in here. I guess you could do that with a awl or anything you want, or a screwdriver, but a drill makes a nice hole. So this all went in yesterday, so it'll be ready to plant in about a week. It'll have nice long roots on it. We'll get into some of these other ebb and flow beds. You can see we got that there. This is some seed that, yeah, it's not really here for any reason other than it was in my hand and I didn't want the birds to eat it. We're letting that dry out. So coming on down here, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. I took those ones, if you've seen the earlier videos, these guys are mounted this way and I flipped them that way. Now they've had some real issues with deformity. You can really see it on this one. This one went really bad cattywampus. You can see I got a shim up underneath it there. But long term, I'm going to replace both of these. These are, again, these are the 14-gallon ones. No, this is, yeah, this is a 14-gallon. Left the sticker on it. So I'm going to replace both of these with 21-gallon ones anyway. So I'm not really worried about them right now. But I do want to get them planted out in watercress. And here we've got bluegills. I'm sure they're enjoying their little hidey hole under there. And some tilapia in this tank still that are managing to make it work in spite of pretty cold water temperatures. But just by flipping them this way and giving them, again, 3 supports. And one of the things I had considered was getting some marine grade plywood and basically cutting a base. And I realized something. 2x4s are stronger and they're cheaper. You can use pressure treated 2x4. You can get like 2x4x12 seems to be like the magic number for me and getting the best bang for the buck on board footage. Well, with one of those, you could make enough for 2 of these over these bins. And they'll damn near last forever, and you know, you just put 3 and make a spot for them. I've even thought, because what happens is you got to make allowance, probably this is what easier one to see, you got to make allowance for your, what I'm trying to say here, your downspout, but your bulkhead, right? You got to make allowance, and the bulkhead's actually pretty big, but I could probably cut a couple boards with a semicircle and a semicircle. I can fit 4 under here, and I think at that point we'd be going nowhere at all. So that's probably where we're going to go next. We're also talking about doing a modification of getting the, and this would kind of fix that problem altogether too, getting the bell siphons external. So basically putting a side bulkhead here, and your bell siphon sits off to the side or off to the rear, and it's outside of the gravel altogether, and that'll let us play some good little tricks on making the siphon more reliable. We have some hacks that I'll show you about that when we implement them. But this is how I spent my Saturday yesterday, making these rafts up and reconfiguring these. I ended up with the water spinach, even with it being the end of the season, not really being very good for human consumption anymore. Kind of, but one frost really knocked it back. I still ended up with 2 big armfuls of it. A little bit of it's left here. But we took it out, fed it to the ducks that were back here yesterday. They were pretty happy about it. As you can see, it's pretty daggone beautiful in here, but our one frost of the year took its toll. We lost out big time on our sweet potato, though we do have a lot of sweet potato in there. We're just pulling, whenever we want a sweet potato or two, I come out here and just pull them right out of the bins. That's pretty cool. But I'm getting my planting diagram made for next year. Pretty much this is going to be a pepper system next year. And most of the other vegetation, a few other things will be in here, but most of the other vegetation is going to be out in the system out here. This is going to be, like when I build this, you guys are going to be blown away with what we're going to do with all we've learned of these technologies, with all these different systems integrated. But you can see even with a frost, because you get some protection from this shade cloth, look at these Cuban bell peppers. Guys, we had a frost and look what it did to the... I mean, it wasn't a hard frost because it would have totally killed it, but it really knocked the sweet potato back, knocked the water spinach back. Look at the peppers. It's almost December. Look at the peppers. I think when we make this a dedicated pepper system next year and the peppers don't have to compete with any other high vegetation, it's going to be pretty awesome. And of course, it's a quail system. And one of these little brown birds is already starting to show signs of going broody. So it might be time soon to give her some quail eggs and put her to work. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed my update. Again, check out the Aquatics and Aquaponics playlist if this is new to you and some of these updates don't make sense.